Does your hurdy-gurdy sound like a dying cat? Well, today we're going to show you how to tame that beast. I'm George Leverett of Altarwind Music. Thanks for joining in. You're watching Hurdy-Gurdy World. One of the challenges new players face is that dying cat sound they get from the hurdy-gurdy. Today we're going to show you how to tame that. What causes it? What do I mean with a dying cat sound? I'll give you a quick demo. When you play a hurdy-gurdy, you should get clear, clean notes all the way up the scale to the very highest note. Now that dying cat sound is the opposite of what I just did. I'm going to demonstrate it for you now. Be forewarned, if you're sensitive to harsh sounds, this is going to be super annoying. This is for demonstration purposes only. The dying cat sound I'm talking about is when your hurdy-gurdy sounds scratchy, like I'm adjusting it so it's going to induce that sound. And this is what I'm talking about. Oh, that's just awful. We've all heard it. If you've seen new players practicing, that kind of comes out in those situations. We're going to explain now what causes that and how to fix it. Here we have a close-up of the chanter bridge. The melody strings, the chanterelles or the chanters, cross over this bridge in particular, and that's the one we're going to address as the cause of our dying cat sound. What is happening is the bridge is made of wood, as it is with most instruments, and you have shrinking or swelling of it depending on what's going on with the weather. If that bridge shrinks down just a little bit, well, these strings that before were held just the perfect tension on the wheel are now pressing down too hard because the bridge shrinks, the strings move downward and are really scooching down on the wheel pretty hard there. So that's the cause of the dying cat sound. There's a couple of ways to deal with it. You can put shims in there. This is the traditional way. You see the little notches cut out for the strings. What you would do is take little folds of paper and tuck them between the string and the wood in those little notches. Little by little, building it back up until you raise the string back to the proper height where it touches the wheel just right. Sometimes one piece of paper will do. Sometimes you'll add 3 or 4 or more to get that sweet sound. The method I'm going to demonstrate today is using an adjustable chanter bridge with thumb wheels. If you watch this all the way through, if your hurdy-gurdy does not have thumb wheels, you'll still be able to get something from this. You can use these same techniques to add shims. So this will guide you through what you're looking for. Let's get started. There's 3 main parts to the chanter bridge here. The feet, the thumb wheels, and then the top portion. The top portion actually isn't attached. It just rests on the thumb wheels. You can see it just comes right off there, and then the strings rest on top. So when you raise the thumb wheels, it lifts the top portion up or down. Why do I mention that? Why is that important? Well, when you're adjusting the thumb wheels, keep in mind this top portion is resting on the mounting posts there. So you don't want it to get cockeyed sideways or else it could jam up and stop raising or lowering, which is kind of a hassle to sort out. When you're raising it, turn one thumb wheel a couple of turns and then the other one a couple of turns. A couple of turns here, a couple turns there, a couple turns here, a couple turns there. So you're not lifting one side way up and the other hardly at all. You're keeping them kind of even as you work it upwards or downwards. That way it won't get jammed. When doing this, I like to do just one string at a time. It makes it a little easier. So I'm turning off all my strings. As you can see, I crank the wheel and I'm not having any sound. And I think I'm just going to work on this chanter string here. So I'm going to lower it on the wheel. The first thing is to test it. Now, this dying cat sound really is most evident in the highest pitch notes, which I'm going to play now. Again, we're going to hear that awful sound. Okay, we're going to start there. I've got my thumb wheels down here underneath, and then the bridge, which I'm going to adjust. Now, on an Altarwind hurdy-gurdy, you notice our bridges are a little different shape than you'll find on a lot of other makers who use cello bridges. Ours have these little wings here, and the reason for that is so you can grab it and lift it when you turn the thumb wheels. I'll demonstrate. I'm going to start by turning this thumb wheel, and then this one, but actually they're really not moving. The weight of the strings is pushing down pretty hard and holding them pretty tight. So I could lift the bridge a little. Now I'll give it a turn. It's very easy. And on this side, lift it, give it 2 turns, little test. It's still kind of harsh sounding. It's not nearly as bad as it was. So now I'm just going to dial it in. I'll give it a turn here again, and then another corresponding turn on this side. Still needs a little more. Raise it a little more, raise it a little more. Raise it a little more, raise it a little more. Still a little harsh, so I'm just going to dial it up just a smidge more. Now, if you're trying this at home with shims, this is the equivalent of just continuing to add pieces of paper underneath there. Now we're getting sweet sounds all the way up the scale. Now I'm going to switch melody strings to do my back one. Make sure it's in good shape too. Usually when a hurdy-gurdy is set up at the factory or the wood shop where it was made, these will be filed pretty evenly. So if you're keeping the thumb wheels even as you go up, making sure you turn them the same amount each thumb wheel, usually when you get one melody string dialed in, the other one will pretty much be dialed in too, as just happened here. You can give one side or another an extra quarter turn or so, and that's not going to hang the bridge up too weird. So a little extra raising or lowering on one side. If you find you have to do that on your Gurdy, well, that's okay. It's no big deal. So what are we looking for when we get the bridge height dialed in? Obviously, we're kind of looking for a sweet sound on all the buttons, but very specifically, we want the strings to just kind of kiss the wheel when there's no cotton. So you see I just now slid the cotton off to the side. Let's see. I'm going to push my buttons out of the way. That's actually a little light, but it is just kind of kissing the wheel, so I'm going to lower it just a smidge. And now the other side. Maybe I'll lower the first side. There we go, and go back to the back one there. The back one sounds a little harsh to me, so I'm just going to raise it just a smidge. Let's see how it sounds. I think we're ready to go make some music together. One thing I'll add to this whole conversation, before making bridge adjustments, change your cotton first. If your cotton is past its prime, it can also mimic some of these unwanted harsh sounds. As far as how often will you need to change your bridge height or add shims or whichever method you do, in my experience here in southwestern Oregon, I'm doing it about once or twice a year when we have big weather changes seasonally. It's not that big of a deal once you get the hang of it. It only takes a moment, and not something that, from my point of view, you're going to need to do terribly often. Anyway, I hope all this was helpful. Appreciate you joining in. We'll see you next time.